I'll never forget the sound of that slap. It wasn't just skin against skin, it was years of love, sacrifice, and silence cracking all at once. The room went dead still, the kind of stillness that makes even the walls remember. All because I spilled a little wine. My name's Evelyn Parker, and I've lived in Atlanta, Georgia my whole life. I'm 58 years old, a mother of 2 grown men, and a woman who's learned that keeping peace in a family sometimes means swallowing your pride, until one day, you just can't anymore. Before we begin, tell me one thing in the comments. Did your grandmother ever share stories like this with you? I still remember sitting beside mine, listening till sleep took over. Let's see how many still remember those days. Anyway, that night was Thanksgiving. My house smelled like roasted turkey, buttered yams, and old memories. The family table gleamed under the chandelier, crystal glasses shining, candles flickering soft. My son, Darius, was sitting at the head of the table like he'd earned that spot. His wife, Vanessa, perched beside him in that shimmering gold dress she'd bragged cost $10,000, and she made sure to mention it more than once. I'd raised Darius to be humble. But since marrying her, that humility, it just vanished. Everything about that dinner felt off. Too perfect, too polished. Vanessa's laugh had that kind of sweetness that cuts. The kind that hides poison underneath. She reached for her glass, eyes scanning my table like she owned it. "Evelyn, darling," she said, stretching my name like taffy. "I can't believe you actually made everything yourself." "That's so old-fashioned." I smiled. Old-fashioned's another word for done right. My younger son, Marcus, tried to lighten the air. "Come on, Ness, don't start with Mama tonight. It's Thanksgiving." But she didn't stop. "No shade, Marcus," she said, "I'm just saying, Darius is used to a certain level now. Presentation matters." The way she said level made my jaw tighten. My son used to bless his food before eating. Now he looked more at her than at God. I was pouring red wine for everyone when it happened. My hand trembled a little, not from age, just from nerves. Vanessa shifted her seat, bumping my elbow ever so slightly. The wine spilled, splashing across her golden dress like a bloodstain blooming on silk. "Oh my God," she screamed, jumping up. "Do you know what this cost?" "I'm sorry," I whispered, reaching for a napkin. That's when Darius stood up. Fast. His face red, his jaw locked. "Mema," he said through clenched teeth, "what's wrong with you?" I said I'm sorry, I repeated, trying to meet his eyes. And then, before I could blink, his hand came across my face. The sound echoed through the house. My head turned from the force, but my body didn't move. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I just stood there, touching my cheek, feeling the warmth spread. Marcus jumped up. "What the hell, Darius?" he shouted. "You just hit Mama." Vanessa gasped like she was shocked, but I saw that flicker of satisfaction dance across her face. "Sit down, Marcus," Darius barked. "She ruined it. Everything. This night was supposed to be perfect." I looked at him, the son I carried through pain, who used to hold my hand crossing Peachtree Street when he was 5, and I couldn't see my baby anymore. The room started spinning slow, like the air got thick. I heard the clock ticking in the corner. Tick, tock, tick, tock. No one else moved. My sister Loretta, sitting near the end of the table, stared at me wide-eyed. My niece had her hand over her mouth. I turned, smoothed my dress, and said softly, "Dinner's over." Vanessa tried to mutter something, but I didn't hear her. I walked out of that house, my own house, without saying another word. Out on the porch, the night air felt cold against my cheek. The slap still burned, but deeper than that, something inside me broke. Not from pain. From betrayal. I sat in my car for a long time, hands on the steering wheel, heart pounding. Darius's voice kept replaying in my head, sharp and cruel. I raised that boy. Fed him, prayed for him, forgave him more times than I can count. And for what? A slap over a spoiled dress. The porch light behind me flickered, then went out. I stared through the windshield at the city lights of Atlanta, and something in me hardened. A mother's love has no limit, but her silence does. I thought about calling Marcus, But no. I needed quiet. I needed space to think. The kind of space where truth starts to speak louder than hurt. When I finally drove off, I didn't go home. I went somewhere else. Somewhere no one would think to find me. That night, I ended up at an old diner on the edge of town, the kind where coffee never tastes right, but you drink it anyway. A waitress named Ruby brought me a slice of pecan pie, said, "You look like you need something sweet, sugar." She didn't ask why I was sitting there alone on Thanksgiving. She didn't have to. Sometimes, another woman's eyes already know. As I sat there, I remembered something Darius had once said years ago, back when Vanessa first came around. "Mema, she's just ambitious. You'll see." Ambitious. That word echoed strange now. Because ambition can build a home, or destroy one. When I got back to my motel that night, my phone had 10 missed calls from Marcus. I didn't answer. Not yet. I needed time. But as I lay on that stiff bed, I couldn't stop thinking about one thing. The house deed. See, that house they were sitting in, every fork, every plate, every inch of it, still had my name on it. Vanessa didn't know that. Darius didn't either. When I handed over the keys, I never filed the transfer. My lawyer advised against it until all paperwork cleared. And it never did. So while they laughed in that dining room, pretending to own what they didn't, I realized something. They'd built their kingdom on sand, and I still held the tide. I turned my phone off, pulled the motel curtains shut, and whispered to myself, "You slap a mother once, but you don't slap her twice." 3 days later, the phone would ring again. But it wouldn't be me answering. And when it did, everything they thought they had would start to crumble. I didn't speak to anyone for 3 whole days. Not Marcus. Not Loretta. And certainly not Darius. I stayed in that dim little motel off Camp Creek Parkway, the kind with flickering hallway lights and thin walls where you can hear people arguing through the vents. I only stepped out twice, once for coffee, once to breathe in air that didn't smell like old carpet and past mistakes. I needed that silence. Not to escape, but to listen. Because when a mother goes quiet, that's when she finally hears the truth. On the morning of the 3rd day, I woke before sunrise. No alarm, just spirit. My cheek, the one my son struck, wasn't bruised, not on the outside, but it still felt hot as if the memory itself had a temperature. It wasn't the slap that haunted me. It was the look in his eyes. I'd seen that look once before, when Darius was 12. Back then, he'd gotten in trouble for stealing from his classmate. Swore it wasn't him, until I found the watch in his backpack. I wasn't angry about the stealing. Children make foolish choices. I was shattered by the pride in his eyes when he lied. Like softness was weakness. Like he believed that love only protected when it was blind. Back then, I corrected him with love. Now, he was a grown man. And pride in a grown man is far louder than in a child. That morning, my motel phone finally rang. I didn't move. It rang again. I still didn't move. On the 3rd ring, it stopped. 1 minute of silence passed. Then my personal cell phone, the one I'd turned off, began vibrating on the nightstand. I stared at it as it lit up. Marcus calling. Not Darius. I exhaled. I let it ring. He called again. And again. On the 4th try, I answered. "Mama." His voice cracked instantly, like relief and fear were wrestling in his throat. "Thank God. I've been going crazy trying to find you. Are you okay? Please tell me you okay." "I'm all right, baby," I said softly. "I just needed time." He let out a breath like he'd been holding it for days. "Mima, listen, I ain't protecting Darius for what he did. I swear I'm not. But things ain't what you thinking. Vanessa. I know who Vanessa is," I cut in, calm as water. "And more importantly, I know who my son allowed himself to become." He went quiet. Sometimes silence says more than defense ever could. After a moment, Marcus' voice lowered. "Mama, I need to see you. I need to talk to you face to face. I don't want to say this over the phone." Something in his tone shifted me upright. "Where?" I asked. "Not the house," he said quickly. "Meet me at Greenbrier Mall, the old side entrance by the vacant Sears. 30 minutes. Please. I left the motel without checking out. When I arrived at the mall, that old parking lot looked like time had moved on and forgotten it. Weeds cracking through faded asphalt, somebody's abandoned shopping cart tipped over like a casualty. Marcus was already there, leaning against his car, hoodie up, pacing hard. He ran to me the second he saw my car. He didn't speak, he just hugged me. Long, firm. The kind of hug a grown man gives his mother when his spirit is trembling. Mema, he whispered against my shoulder, voice thick, I'm sorry. I couldn't stop him that night. Everything happened too fast, Anne. I touched his back. This isn't your burden to carry, baby. He pulled back, jaw clenched. No. It is. 'Cause I stayed silent too long. I watched that woman turn him cold. But this slap, Mama, it woke me. And you need to hear something before you walk back into that house. I'm not walking back, I said calmly. He looked at me, searching. Good. Then at least walk toward the truth. That made me still. He swallowed hard. Mama. Vanessa planned that night. My breath caught, not from surprise, but from confirmation. He went on. She told Darius 2 weeks ago, and I heard it with my own ears, your mama needs to be put in her place. She still thinks she runs this house. He laughed it off. But she said it again. And again. She wanted a moment. And she got one. He paused. And that ain't even the part you need to worry about most. My heart slowed. Speak. He looked left, right, then leaned in closer. She and Darius been planning something behind your back. And it ain't just about the house. It's worse. I waited. He hesitated, then said it. They're using your house to mortgage into a business deal. A private investment thing. And get this, Darius signed documents. In your name. Silence. Heavy. Still. Cutting. I stared at Marcus, not in shock, but in a slow, rising understanding. That boy forged my name. He mistook my mercy for absence. He mistook my silence for weakness. Mema, Marcus whispered carefully, eyes reddening. If they succeed, you lose everything. I mean everything. And Vanessa, she wants it that way. She wants you erased. And I swear. I raised my hand. He stopped. I breathed. Slow. Controlled. And then. My lawyer has known for 3 years that any document in my name requires in-person confirmation, with biometric seal. It can't be forged. She fails to realize. I looked past him, toward the empty mall entrance, voice lowering like a storm preparing itself. I expected her 10 moves ago. Marcus stared at me. Confusion. Then realization. Then something else, relief. That woman didn't marry a fool's mother. He exhaled. So what now, Mama? I finally looked at him. Really looked. And in that moment, I saw the same 12-year-old boy who once cried because he thought he disappointed me. I let them believe I was broken, I said quietly. Now I let them witness what happens when I stand. Marcus nodded slowly, like a soldier receiving marching orders he was born for. Then, he paused. Mema, you need to know something else. His voice lowered to a warning. Vanessa ain't just greedy. She's scared. Of something. Or someone. She's not moving like a woman who thinks she owns your son, she's moving like a woman being controlled. And just like that, the revenge turned into a deeper mystery, a colder game. And I just stepped into its center. Vanessa ain't just greedy. She's scared. Of something. Or someone. Marcus's words crawled under my skin and stayed there. Not greedy, scared. That changed everything. Because greed is loud. Desperate. Predictable. But fear. Fear makes people do things even the devil didn't plan. I looked at my son, standing in that abandoned corner of Greenbrier's parking lot, his hoodie half-shadowed under the dull morning light. Scared of what? I asked quietly. He shook his head slowly. I don't know, he said. But Mama, she checks over her shoulder when she's alone. Keeps her phone flipped upside down like it's a bomb about to go off. And 2 nights ago, before Thanksgiving, I overheard her crying. Crying? Marcus nodded. I ain't never seen her cry, Mama. Not once. But that night she was whispering on the phone, telling someone she did what they asked. That he better not back out now. And then she said. He swallowed hard. She said, if Evelyn finds out, I'm dead. Silence. Thick as wet cement. Before I could respond, Marcus's phone vibrated. He glanced at it, jaw tightening. He flipped it around so I could see the name. Darius. Calling. He didn't answer. Mama, Marcus said, exhaling. I need you to know something before you step back in that house ever again. Darius ain't the same. He's not just arrogant. He's paranoid. He's moving reckless. And I think, he hesitated. You think what? A slow breath. I think Vanessa ain't the only one lying in that marriage. I stared at him, and saw it. Something darker hiding beneath everything. Talk, I said. He lowered his voice. I think your son is hiding something too. Something big. Bigger than anything you suspect. For the first time that morning, I felt the air around me shift. Not with anger, but with calculation. Because if both of them were hiding something, then this wasn't just about respect, or betrayal, or money. This was something deeper. And maybe, it didn't start with that slap. Maybe that slap was just the moment the mask cracked. Marcus, I said calmly, steadying myself. Take me back to that house. He looked startled. Now? Yes. He stepped back. Mama, are you sure? Vanessa's still there. Darius too. They not expecting. That's the point, I said simply. He hesitated, searching my face, then nodded once. Not in fear, but in belief. We drove in silence. Atlanta's streets rolled past, familiar but heavy, like the city knew this wasn't just another ride home. I could feel Marcus glancing at me every few minutes, like he was trying to read what kind of storm I was carrying inside. We pulled up in front of the house. The curtains were slightly parted. Someone was watching. Probably Vanessa. She always watched. I opened the car door, but before I stepped out, I spoke without looking at Marcus. Whatever happens from this moment on, don't defend me. Don't interrupt. Don't protect me. He nodded, slowly. Yes, I walked up the steps, calm. No anger. No fear. Not even sadness. Just clarity. The front door opened before I could knock. Vanessa stood there. Her hair was done, makeup sharp, like she'd been preparing for a courtroom, not a home. But her eyes told another story. There it was. That flicker. Not pride. Not victory. Not even hate. Fear. Real fear. Mama Evelyn, she said softly, voice trembling where she tried to hide it. You came back. I looked at her. She looked everywhere but my face. In that instant, I saw it. She wasn't afraid of me. She was afraid of something connected to me. Which meant, I wasn't the victim in this story. I was the threat. And someone had made her aware of that before I even realized it myself. Behind her, footsteps. Darius appeared. His face went pale when he saw me. He opened his mouth, but I cut him off with one look. He froze. Not because I was loud, but because I wasn't. When a mother stops arguing, that's not surrender. That's strategy. I walked past both of them and into my own living room. Not a single word spoken. The air was thick with dread. Not guilt. Dread. And in that moment, I knew for certain. Something else was in that house. Whether spoken or not. Whether human or not. Something bigger than betrayal. Something older than pride. Something that had already been moving long before Thanksgiving. I turned, slow, and finally spoke. Starting not with rage, but with truth. Someone in this house, I said, voice steady, has been moving against me for a very long time. No one breathed. And I am prepared, I continued, to let God reveal each one of them. Quietly. One. By. One. Vanessa shifted. Darius swallowed. And for the first time since I birthed him, I saw fear in my oldest son's eyes. If you were in my place, would you have walked in, or burned it all down from a distance? I want to know. Because sometimes, your answer says more about what you've survived than what you'd do. The house stayed silent. But something, or someone, had just flinched. The house felt heavy. Thick. Like it had been holding its breath for years. Vanessa stood in the kitchen doorway. Her makeup was perfect. But her eyes were wet. Shiny. Afraid. Darius's face mirrored hers. He looked small. Vulnerable. For the first time, I saw it. Fear. Real fear. I didn't move fast. Didn't yell. Didn't scream. I walked slowly. Let the silence hit them first. Vanessa's voice broke. Mama. I stopped. Let her flinch. Let her feel the weight of her own fear. You didn't mean to spill the wine, I said softly. Or did you mean to show me who really runs this house? Her shoulders shook. She tried to shrink, tried to disappear. But you can't hide from a mother who has seen everything. Darius swallowed. Mema, it's not just Vanessa. It's me too. I let it happen. I didn't flinch. I looked at him. Really looked. The boy I raised. The son I prayed for every night. He'd grown into a man I barely recognized. I'm listening, I said. My voice calm. Quiet. But full. Full of everything I'd held inside for decades. Vanessa hiccuped, trying to stop crying. I was scared, she whispered. I didn't know what to do. I thought I was protecting us, protecting Darius. But I never wanted to hurt you. I let that hang. Let it float in the air. Fear makes people cruel, I said. And desperate. It shows who they really are. Darius looked at Vanessa. Then at me. His voice cracked. Mama. I didn't know. I raised a hand. Silence. You did know, baby, I said. You just didn't care until it was too late. I moved toward the dining table. The place where wine had spilled. Where the slap happened. Where pride met consequence. I reached into my purse. Pulled out a thick folder. Papers. Contracts. Notarized documents. Signatures. Everything. I placed it on the table. Carefully. Vanessa gasped. Mama, what is that? I looked at her. This is why fear is dangerous. Because it blinds you. Makes you act without thinking. And makes you believe you're in control when you're not. Darius's hands trembled as he touched the folder. Mama. No, I said. You'll listen. That's all. And you'll understand. I Saturday. Motioned for them to sit. The silence was thick. Heavy. Full of anticipation. Every move made in this house while I was quiet, I said slowly, each word deliberate, has been watched. Every paper signed. Every favor granted. Every secret kept. I've kept track. And now, you will see the cost of choices made in the dark. Vanessa's tears fell freely. Darius looked pale. They were seeing it now. Seeing what they had underestimated. I am giving you a choice, I said. We can unravel this quietly. Piece by piece. Or we can let it explode. Let consequences rule. The choice is yours. But every lie, every betrayal has a price. And I am ready to see it paid. Slowly. Fairly. Truthfully. Vanessa hiccuped again, voice trembling. Mama, please. I shook my head. No. Not yet. You need to feel this. Understand this. I leaned back. Eyes softening slightly. Sometimes, one small choice changes everything. If you were in my place, what would you do? Would you walk in, or walk away? Think carefully. The room was still. They didn't speak. They couldn't. The truth was in the silence. Thick. Sharp. Like a knife pressing just under the skin. And I could see it in them. Recognition. Not forgiveness. Not reconciliation. Not yet. But recognition. The storm wasn't over. Not by a long shot. But the first cracks had appeared. And both of them knew they had underestimated me. I smiled softly. Just a little. Not cruelty. Not pride. Just understanding. Sometimes, that's enough to hold a room still. Sometimes, that's all it takes to begin rewriting everything. The house held its breath. And so did they. And I was ready. The folder sat on the table, thick with every lie, every betrayal, every shadowed choice. I didn't touch it again. I just let it sit there, heavy. Like a heartbeat. Vanessa stared at it, trembling. Her hands wouldn't stop. Her breaths were shallow. She was scared. Not of me. Of what she had done. Of what she had let happen. Darius looked at me. His face pale, lips pressed tight. For the first time, he looked like a boy who realized the consequences of his choices. I leaned forward. You need to know, I said slowly. I didn't come back just to scare you. I came back to reveal the truth. The full truth. And that truth will change everything you thought you knew about this family. Vanessa flinched. Mama, what do you mean? I smiled faintly. Not cruel. Not kind. Just knowing. That slap. That dress. That night. It wasn't about anger. It was the tipping point. The moment where all the hidden things had to surface. And believe me, I've been waiting for it. Darius swallowed. Waiting? You knew? I knew, I said. I've known more than you realize. More than either of you know. And now, it's time for the first reveal. I reached into the folder and pulled out a single sheet. Handed it to Darius. His hands shook so badly, the paper nearly fell. What is this? He asked. I let him read. Let the silence fill the room. Let the weight of the truth settle. His eyes widened. His mouth opened, but no sound came. I could see the disbelief, the shock, the guilt all flash across his face at once. Vanessa leaned over, trying to look. Her breath hitched. Her mascara ran. Mama, that can't be. Yes, it can, I said. And it is. Everything you thought was safe. Every secret you believed would stay buried. Every corner you thought you controlled, gone. Darius dropped the paper onto the table. But oh how? How did you find this? I leaned back in my chair, calm, composed. Observation. Patience. Quiet. You see, when you underestimate someone, you give them every advantage. I've watched for years. Every document, every decision, every betrayal, I've had eyes everywhere. Quiet eyes. Eyes that never blink. Vanessa's hands flew to her face. Mama, please. I didn't mean. You didn't mean. I echoed. Honey, that's the thing about intent. It doesn't matter. What matters is action. Choices. And actions have consequences. Darius ran a hand through his hair. His voice broke. Mama. I didn't want this. I didn't want to hurt anyone. I shook my head. Yes, you did. Maybe not at first. But over time, you allowed it. You allowed fear to guide you. Pride to blind you. And now, here we are. I stood up, slowly, letting every inch of my height and presence fill the room. I want you both to understand something very clearly. This isn't about anger. It's not about punishment. It's about truth. And truth has a way of coming out, no matter how deep you bury it. Vanessa's sobs quieted. Her voice small. Mama, what do we do? You live with it, I said softly. You face it. You understand it. And you decide what comes next. But know this, the first reveal is only the beginning. Darius's jaw tightened. The beginning? Mama, what else is there? I smiled faintly. The rest will come in time. But first, you need to digest this. See it. Feel it. Let it sink in. Because everything you believed about control, about power, about who runs this family, is about to change. They both sat, stunned, trembling. Vanessa's tears fell freely. Darius's hands shook as he touched the folder again. Neither spoke. And I knew, they had realized something crucial. The house, the family, the marriage, none of it was what they thought. None of it. I let a beat pass. One long, silent beat. Just enough for them to feel the weight of the revelation. Then I said quietly, deliberately, sometimes, the first truth you see is the hardest. And sometimes, it's the one that changes everything. Vanessa looked up. Eyes wide. Mama. I can't believe. You will, I said. Eventually. And when you do, you'll understand why patience is a weapon stronger than any anger. Stronger than any slap. Darius exhaled. Long trembling. Mama. I don't know if I can. You can, I said. Because you have no choice now. Not really. Choices have limits when truth walks in the room. And that's exactly what happened tonight. I let the silence settle again. Heavy. Full of meaning. Full of dread. Full of the understanding that this family would never be the same. And as they sat there, broken, trembling, the first cracks of their illusions showing, I smiled faintly. Not because I was cruel, but because truth, finally, had arrived. And sometimes, that is the most powerful revenge of all. The room was quiet, but the air felt sharp. Like glass under skin. Vanessa's eyes were red. Puffy. She tried to wipe her tears, but it didn't help. Not anymore. Darius sat beside her, staring at the folder. Trembling fingers. Pale face. He didn't speak. Couldn't. I stood. Took a slow breath. Every movement measured. Every word deliberate. Do you both understand now? I asked. They nodded. Quiet. Hesitant. Broken. Good, I said. Because what comes next is the betrayal. The one hiding in plain sight. The one you never saw coming. Vanessa flinched. Mama, what are you saying? I walked closer. Calm. Cold. I'm saying, honey, that the real enemy wasn't just fear. It wasn't just greed. It was trust misplaced. It was loyalty given to the wrong person. And it was a son, a husband, who thought love made him untouchable. Darius's eyes widened. Mama. I shook my head. No. Not yet. You listen. I picked up another folder. Thicker. Heavier. Full of documents, messages, emails. Evidence. Every secret they thought was safe. Every act of deception. Every hidden truth. This, I said, placing it on the table, is what betrayal looks like when it's been planned. Not impulsive. Not angry. Planned. Precise. Cold. Vanessa gasped. Mama, no. Yes, I said firmly. Yes. You knew part of this. Darius, you enabled it. And Vanessa, you thought it was protection. But protection doesn't lie. Protection doesn't plan. Protection doesn't hide things from the one person who loves you unconditionally. Darius swallowed. Voice trembling. Mama. I didn't think. You didn't think, I interrupted. And that's exactly the point. You let it happen. And now you have to face it. I leaned forward. Eyes locked on both of them. Do you know what happens when a mother is silent for too long? She sees everything. She knows everything. And when she finally moves, the consequences are precise. Surgical. Unforgiving. Vanessa's hands trembled as she reached for the folder. Darius flinched. You want to know the truth? I asked softly. Do you really? They nodded. Both of them. Hesitant. Broken. I opened the folder. Pushed it toward them. Everything you've hidden. Everything you've denied. Everything you've hoped I'd never find, it's all here. Vanessa's face went pale. She shook. Mama. Sure, I said softly. Listen. Because here's what else you need to understand. Betrayal isn't just one act. It's a series of choices. Little lies. Big lies. Hiding. Scheming. Planning. And you, both of you, were part of it. Every step. Darius's eyes welled up. Mama. I never wanted. You never wanted. I asked, voice quiet but sharp. Do you see what happens when love is twisted by fear? Do you see what hiding the truth does to people who trust you? Vanessa shook her head, tears streaming. I I didn't know what else to do. You always know, I said calmly. Even when fear makes your hands shake. Even when pride tells you silence is safe. You always know. And you chose anyway. They looked at me, broken, trembling, realizing for the first time that the house, the marriage, the family, none of it was what they thought. I let silence sit heavy in the room. Thick. Sharp. Cutting. And that's why, I said finally, I gave you the first folder. So you'd see. So you'd feel it. So you'd understand what betrayal looks like when it's allowed to fester. And now, you have to see the rest. Vanessa gasped. The rest? Mama, there's more? I nodded slowly. Oh, yes. Much more. You see, this was never just about pride or anger. This was about power. Control. And now, the moment of truth is here. You can stay. Or you can leave. But the moment you step out of that room, you will carry the weight of every lie you've told. Darius swallowed hard. Mama, please, tell me what I should do. I leaned closer. Eyes steady. Calm. The only thing you can do now is face it. Face the truth. And maybe, if you're brave enough, begin to fix it. Vanessa trembled. Mama, I don't know if I'm brave enough. You are, I said quietly. Because running only makes betrayal stronger. Facing it, that's courage. That's power. That's the first step toward redemption. Darius looked at me, tears spilling, nodding slowly. Mama. I understand. I'll do it. I let that sit. Let the weight of those words settle. And then I leaned back, calm. Observing. Waiting. Watching them feel the full weight of their choices. Betrayal is a virus. Silent. Insidious. It spreads in shadows, in whispers, in unseen corners. And tonight, it had been exposed. You see, I said softly, voice almost tender now, this is why patience is stronger than any anger. Why silence is louder than any scream. And why truth is the only weapon that cannot be stopped. Vanessa's shoulders shook violently. Mama. I'm so sorry. I know, I said. And that's why I'm giving you the chance to do the right thing. But understand, the clock is ticking. Every second you waste, it only makes the fallout worse. Darius swallowed. Shook his head. Mama. I feel broken. Good, I said softly. Because you should. And now, you'll see that only by facing the truth can we begin to heal. Only by seeing everything, can we decide what comes next. I stood. Walked toward the window. Looked out. The sky was darkening, the first hints of night creeping over the city. And in that quiet moment, I realized something crucial. Revenge is not the end. Truth is. And tonight, they had just begun to see it. The house felt smaller now. Claustrophobic. Every corner, every shadow, seemed to watch. Vanessa sat on the couch, hands clutched to her knees. Her face pale. Her lips trembling. Darius stood near the window, fists tight, jaw clenched. Both of them frozen in the wake of the truth. I didn't move right away. I let them sit in it. Let the weight of everything settle. Then I spoke. You see that? I asked softly, nodding toward the folder on the table. That's the beginning. Not the end. The unraveling starts now. And it's not pretty. Darius swallowed. Mama, what happens next? I shook my head. Calm. Controlled. What happens next is simple. You face it. Every lie, every hidden act, every betrayal. You confront it. You admit it. You fix it if you can, or live with it if you can't. Vanessa gasped. Mama. I don't know if I can. You can, I said firmly. Because you have no other choice. The truth is here. And it doesn't care about feelings. It doesn't care about excuses. It just is. I walked slowly around the room. Observing. Studying. Watching every twitch, every flinch, every blink. Every small sign of fear. You two think this is over, I said softly. That once the folder is open, the danger has passed. But that's not how it works. The unraveling is deeper than a single folder. It's every secret, every half-truth, every hidden act colliding at once. Vanessa's breath hitched. Darius looked ready to collapse. I pulled a chair and sat across from them, leaning forward. Let me show you something. From my purse, I pulled another envelope. Smaller. Thicker. Handwritten notes. Messages. Evidence of collusion, deception, manipulation. I placed it on the table. Vanessa flinched. Mama, what is that? I didn't answer right away. I let it hang in the air. Heavy. Dangerous. Open it, I said finally. Darius hesitated. Vanessa's hands shook violently as she tore the seal. Inside were letters, messages between Vanessa and someone else. Someone hidden. Someone plotting. Her eyes widened. Her lips trembled. Mama. I didn't think. You didn't think, I echoed. And that's exactly why you're here. Because actions have consequences. And now, the unraveling has begun. Darius sank into the couch, face buried in his hands. Mama. I never knew. Never knew. I said softly. Oh, honey, the moment you close your eyes to the truth, you do know. You just ignore it until it's too late. I leaned back, watching them. Feeling them squirm under the weight of exposure. You see, I continued, voice calm but sharp, this is the moment when control slips. When power shifts. When secrets claw their way into the open. And you can't stop it. Not now. Not ever. Vanessa's sobs were quiet now, but they shook her to the core. Darius's breathing was ragged, unsteady. Do you understand what this means? I asked. Both of them nodded. Silent. Shaken. Defeated. Good, I said. Because the unraveling isn't just about seeing what's hidden. It's about feeling it. Feeling every betrayal. Every lie. Every moment you thought you were safe, shattered. I stood slowly, pacing the room. And the final truth, I said quietly, the one that changes everything, is coming. Soon. And when it does, you'll realize why a mother's patience is not weakness. Why silence is not surrender. And why truth is more powerful than fear. Vanessa flinched. Mama, what truth? You'll see, I said. And when you do, you'll understand why the game was never about punishment. It was about revelation. About exposing every secret, every betrayal, every hidden act. That's the real power. And now, you are in its grip. Darius looked at me, eyes wide. Mama. We. Sure, I said. Not yet. Listen. Watch. Learn. Because the unraveling is not over. And by the time it is, you will never look at this family the same way again. I let the silence settle. Heavy. Sharp. Deadly. And I knew, in that moment, that everything they had believed about loyalty, love, and family, was gone. Shattered. The unraveling had begun. And there was no going back. The house was silent. Heavy. Like it was holding its breath, waiting for the final act. Vanessa sat on the edge of the couch, face pale, hands trembling. Darius leaned against the wall, shoulders slumped, eyes fixed on the floor. Both of them were exhausted. Emotionally, mentally, spiritually. I stood in the center of the room. Watching. Waiting. It was time. Everything you've seen, I said softly, voice calm but steady, everything you've discovered, it's the truth. The full truth. And it's not pretty. But it's necessary. Vanessa's lips trembled. Mama. I can't believe all of this. Yes, I said quietly. Believe it. Accept it. Face it. Because running from it won't change a single thing. Not one choice. Not one betrayal. Not one lie. Darius finally looked up. His eyes were red, swollen. Mama, what happens now? I took a deep breath. Now, you decide. Every secret has been revealed. Every hidden act exposed. You can crumble under it, or rise above it. That's the choice. Vanessa's sobs grew louder. She buried her face in her hands. I don't know if I can fix it, I don't know if I deserve to. You deserve nothing, I said firmly. Not until you face it. Not until you own it. But you have the chance. The chance to take responsibility. To make amends. To rebuild what was broken. Carefully, deliberately, honestly. Darius stepped forward, voice shaking. Mama. I was blind. I didn't see it. I thought I was protecting everything. But I was wrong. So wrong. Yes, I said. You were wrong. But now you see. And seeing is the first step. The hardest step. But the step that matters. I reached for the folders. Spread them across the table. Every choice you made. Every secret you kept. Every betrayal you enabled. It's all here. Laid bare. And now, it's time for reconciliation. If you want it. If you can handle it. Vanessa's hands trembled as she touched a paper. She looked at me, voice barely a whisper. Mama, do you forgive us? I paused. Let the silence stretch. It wasn't a question I could answer quickly. Forgiveness is earned, not given. Learned, not assumed. I can, I said finally. But not yet. First, you must understand the depth of your choices. The impact of every hidden word, every lie, every betrayal. Only then can forgiveness be real. They nodded. Both of them. Silent. Reflective. Broken, but awake. I leaned back, letting the quiet fill the room. The storm had passed. But the aftershocks remained. You see, I said softly, almost to myself, truth is a powerful thing. It doesn't yell. It doesn't scream. It doesn't strike. It simply waits. And when it moves, it changes everything. Permanently. Vanessa's voice was barely audible. Mama, what happens to us now? You live, I said. You live with honesty. With accountability. With courage. And eventually, with peace. But make no mistake, nothing will be the same. And that's as it should be. Darius exhaled, long and deep. Mama. I understand now. I see everything. I see the pain. I see the damage. And I want to make it right. You want to, I said. But do you have the strength? The patience? The humility? That is what matters now. Not words. Not promises. Not excuses. Strength. Patience. Humility. Vanessa's shoulders shook again. Tears streaked down her face. Mama. I want to try. I will. I nodded slowly. Good. That is all I need for now. To see that willingness. That recognition. That spark of understanding. Everything else, we build from there. Slowly. Carefully. Honestly. I stood and walked to the window. Looked out at the city lights of Atlanta shimmering in the night. Quiet. Peaceful. But beneath the calm, a storm had passed. And the world would never look the same for them again. I turned back to them. Remember this night. Every word. Every look. Every moment. Let it remind you why truth matters more than comfort. Why honesty matters more than loyalty misplaced. Why patience matters more than rage. And why a mother's love, quiet but unwavering, can see through everything. Vanessa and Darius both nodded. Silent. Absorbing the weight. I stepped back, letting them have the space. Now, I said softly, take a breath. Start to rebuild. Start to own it. Start to be honest with yourselves. And no matter what comes next, the truth will always out. Always. And in that quiet, heavy room, I saw something shift. Not reconciliation fully. Not peace fully. But the first, fragile spark of understanding. The truth had been revealed. And that spark would guide them.